to start with is I'm going to just use a kind of a pad where I can draw these pictures. I know you don't have quite as big of a space on your sheet, but I think it'll work a little bit better for me to do it this way. So I'm going to first try to sketch a circle. A circle, we know there's a point in the middle that's equidistant to all points on it. We call that the center. I'm going to go ahead and label my center as the point P. So over here on the side, I've listed all of the terms that you have on your sheet: circle, center, chord, secant, radius, diameter, tangent, and then I've added on a few. Point of tangency we'll talk about, and then common tangent, both internal and external. We'll have to talk about those too. So those aren't on the notes sheet, but they are ones you'll need to know for your assignment. So when I name a circle, this circle has a center at P. To name a circle, we actually draw a little circle picture followed by the letter of the center. So circle P is the name of this circle. You'll see that sometimes. And the center of this is simply the point. In this case, it's the point P. But then we get into some other different segments or lines. First, we have a chord. What a chord is it's a segment that connects 2 points on the circle. So I'm going to put 2 points on my circle, here and here maybe. I'll call them A and B. So a chord is what connects them. So guys seem to have frozen. Let's try this again. And a chord stays inside the circle. It's only the part of the circle in between those 2 points. Like right there is a chord. Since it has 2 endpoints, it doesn't go on forever. It is a segment. It is not a line. So remember, back to first semester, our different symbols. Starting A and B, and it doesn't have an arrow through it, so segment AB is a chord. We can contrast that with a secant. The next part is a secant. A secant is a chord extended. Did it again. I want to get a little bit closer there. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I don't know why it's not letting me move it. Okay, I'm not going to be quite, that should work pretty well. It'll work fine. So what I've done now is, sorry. Okay, I extended it on and made it a line. A secant contains a chord, but it goes beyond it. So I've turned it into a line AB. Now, a secant doesn't have to be a line. It could be a segment. It could be an array, but it does contain like a chord, like inside the circle, but it also contains some outside the circle. So inside and outside is a secant. Now for a radius, you should know what a radius is, but a radius is a segment that connects a point on the circle to the center of the circle. So let me call this point C. So if I connect from P to C, that's a radius. You should also know that a radius is half of a diameter. A diameter is actually a type of chord. It connects 2 points on the circle, but it's a chord that goes through the center. So if I call this point D out there, our diameter goes from C to D or D to C. It is a segment. So segment CD would be a diameter of the circle. Tangent is probably a new term, and it is a term that we focus on primarily in today's section. A tangent stays outside of a circle, never passes through the inside, but it does touch the circle in one point. So if I touch the circle in one spot, let's say this is point E, but otherwise it stays outside of the circle, this is a tangent. I'm going to give it one other point out here. So a tangent, it could be a ray or a segment or a line, but I'm going to go ahead and call it a line here. line EF. It touches the circle at E, but then it continues on. When it touches a circle, when a tangent touches a circle, the point at which it touches it, we call the point of tangency. That's a term that wasn't shown on your sheet, but it does show up on your assignment. So E would be the point of tangency, the point at which your tangent touches the circle. And then lastly, on your assignment, they talk about common tangents. And there's both an internal and an external common tangent. But a common tangent is something that's a tangent, but it's tangent to two circles at the same time. So I'm going to draw a picture. I'm going to actually just draw two new circles. Okay, I've got two circles, and then I want to now draw a common tangent, a segment that's tangent to both circles at the same time. So it has to stay outside of the circles, but it does touch each circle exactly once. So I'll call those G and H. So that line GH, is tangent to both circles at the same time. But you'll notice I have what's called an internal common tangent and an external common tangent. This one that I drew is considered an external common tangent. The reason it's external is because it doesn't pass between the two circles. So GH, line GH, is an external common tangent. So if I were to draw an internal, it still has to be tangent, still stay outside of the circles, but it's going to pass between them. So it's going to kind of cut diagonally between the two. So something like this. And let's say that's point I, and this is point J. So line IJ would be a common tangent that's an internal tangent because it cuts between them. So here's a picture of each of those different type of segments and points that is referred to on your notes sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to our notes sheet now, and we have some examples there that use this, where we kind of just have to identify what's in the picture. So this first example here, we have a part A, B, C, and a D. We have to identify what each one is. So A is segment AC. It starts at A, ends at C. So if it starts at A and it ends at C, that's just a radius. Next one starts at A and ends at B, so that's 2 points on the circle. It is a type of chord, but this chord does pass through the center, therefore it's a diameter. The next one starts at D, passes through E, and keeps going. You'll notice it stays outside of the circle, but it does touch the circle in one place. It touches it at B. That makes it a tangent. A tangent doesn't have to be a line. It can be a line, it can be a ray, it can be a segment, but it touches the circle in one place, but otherwise would always stay outside of the circle. And then lastly is A through E, and it's the line that continues on. It's not saying segment AE. If I stopped at A, actually E is outside the circle anyway, it doesn't matter. Even if it was a segment, it contained the inside circle and something outside, that makes it a secant. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video and then we'll start a second one where we talk about tangents.